Hello, founders. Welcome to Startups.com. We are live. We got a great show today. In fact, we're just going to jump right into it because we want to record some content for those of you who are part of our Revenue Accelerator. What's going to occur is we are going to go through the 19 different channels when it comes to traction. So you're here if you're trying to do traction hacking, get startup growth. It says here how any startup can achieve explosive customer growth. Traction is a book. It's kind of our Bible for getting customers, written by Weinberg and Mayers. Feel free to ask questions. Use the Q&A box or the chat to ask questions if you're out there in the audience, and you can ask questions relevant to what you are seeing. We're going to try and prioritize your questions, but also we may leave your questions to the end just in case, because we'd love a nice clean recording for everyone who's been watching this as part of the Revenue Accelerator. I have here with us our lead advisor, Mr. Vadim. Vadim, introduce yourself and just share what's your experience in terms of getting customers, launching a startup, that initial traction.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, good to meet everybody. Thank you for joining. Like Ed said, my name is Vadim. I'm lead advisor here at Startups.com. In terms of getting traction, for those of you that are listening, it depends on your business. My experience, obviously, is across a bunch of different companies. For myself, direct-to-consumer businesses, B2B companies. I've also advised a lot of entrepreneurs, even before joining Startups.com, that were part of accelerator programs, that were pre-customer, with customers, whatever it is. So I have a lot of experience running a lot of different types of experiments. Happy to jump into anything that might be helpful to the audience.
Yes, and I think the real key thing is that early stage, getting that traction. It's so important. These days, development is so much easier. Anybody can build anything. Literally, anybody can build something and launch in 2 weeks. The tools are there. MVPs to a limit, maybe not production value, but getting customers, distribution, that's a whole other challenge people are looking for. And the reason traction is so important, and I had this conversation with Will yesterday, but I was listening to a general partner of an early stage investment fund, and she was saying, listen, come back to us when you have your first customer, tell me what you learned. They're done looking at demos, because these days you can put together a pretty nice demo very easily, skinning ChatGPT, these LLMs, have made it so much easier to get demos out there and MVPs. But now the battle is, can you actually get a customer? What are you learning from the customer? So please make sure that you ask any questions, use Q&A box or chat. We're going to go through these channels. But before we do that, this is from the book Traction. And this book features something called the Bullseye Framework. So what happens is you want to brainstorm every one of these 19 channels, and then you move in and you put 6 of them in the middle. I usually like to experiment 3 at a time, but that's just me. And you put 6 of them in the middle and you say, which ones are feasible? Let's experiment. But remember, you brainstormed all 19 channels. And the reason we do that, let's talk about this here for a moment, is I say this all the time. It's all about first principles thinking, everyone. It is, instead of coming in with an anecdote, saying, this startup used influencer marketing. This startup paid for ads. How about you take a scientific approach, first principles, and you brainstorm all potential channels? Because if somebody is talking about ads, then everybody's thinking it, and it can be very competitive doing ads. If you heard it successful, someone else has heard it successful, and something especially like ads, that raises the entry point and how much you have to spend every ad. So you want to try and take a first principles approach, and that's what we mean by saying, like a scientist, say, if we were going to use all 19 channels, what would we actually do? How can we experiment? And just experiment like $100 at a time. I am experimenting with channels right now, and I spend $55 per ad. It's one of my ads. And I run 3 at a time just to see. And I've spent about $300 to do everything put together. And I have gained, for every ad, I get 250,000 impressions, and I measure each one. I split test A/B. And I still haven't decided, but I think it's going right in the middle. And that's the third point, is after you experimented, you put the ones that work so you can continue milk in the middle. That's the reason it's called the Bullseye Method. That being said, we've got a whole other video on the Bullseye Framework and how it works and how you can use it. We want to get in specifically into these channels. And there are 19 evergreen channels, and that means they are relevant today. So let's take a look. I'm going to try and spend 3 minutes, actually probably 2 minutes per channel. I'm going to ask Vadim his opinion on each channel. So here we go. Founders, get ready and take notes, and feel free to ask questions as we go as well. So the first channel is viral marketing. Viral marketing is encouraging users to share your product through incentives, network effects, or social influence. Sometimes this can be referral programs, built-in sharing features like adding the sharing button, viral loops where somehow the users benefit from inviting others. One of the oldies but goodies to do this was Dropbox's referral program. They referred, and I still got bonuses. I got extra storage for referring friends. I don't know, Vadim, have you ever done it? Vadim, what's your experience with viral marketing and getting referrals?
So I think like with any channel, it depends on whether or not it'll work for your business. I have tried viral marketing. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of work to engineer virality, but certainly have worked to leverage referrals. So offering incentives for, let's say, if it's for a direct to consumer product, offering incentives for referral, some percentage off, free X or whatever it is. It can work. You have to understand though that just like with any other channel we're going to talk about, within viral marketing, there's going to be so many experiments you could run alone, right? So you have to think about what does that mean for me? And is there potential to create some kind of viral coefficient for the type of business that I'm running? And then you're going to have to run a lot of sub experiments within that as well to start seeing some virality.
Very well put. Let me add to that. Viral doesn't necessarily mean that you get 10 million views on a short video or a TikTok. That's going viral on social media, but does it actually translate to people who sign up for stuff or buy things? On top of which, viral, here's how you want to think about it. It's like a virus. So what virus can you create to make people sneeze and make them go out and want to sneeze and spread it to everybody else? So you have to understand what's going to pull that trigger and do what Vadim says. Experiment across multiple subsets of viral marketing. But the best part about viral marketing is it's free, Vadim. So I highly recommend it. You ever gone viral with anything in your previous startups there, Vadim?
Oh yeah. I mean, my last company was an education business and I write for Forbes and Harvard Business Review. And I wrote a Forbes article with a perfect title that got picked up by Google. It's all about SEO now with these publications. And it was about free classes you can take during the pandemic. And it was right when everybody was just on Zoom life, during COVID, and it took off. So the timing is a huge deal when it comes to trying to hit virality.
Perfect. So great example. Okay, next. Public relations, PR, gaining media coverage through press releases, pitches, and compelling storytelling. So a lot of good things about PR is that, and like you talked about, you got picked up by a magazine, but it helps establish credibility, right? And there's a large audience, especially if you get picked up, say, by Harvard Business Review. I've had a CEO get picked up there, and it's respected, right? So you get into trade publications. PR is anything where you get through press releases. You have to pitch a story. And so, I would say, Vadim, the person who gets the most PR right now is Elon Musk, even though it's like, oh my goodness, Elon, what are you doing? But here's the thing is it highlights all his products. Like he just goes viral for all the wrong reasons, but press pick up on him. And same with Donald Trump. It's like Donald Trump and Elon Musk live rent-free in the media's head. And they basically give him tons of exposure. A lot of people say any press is good press. So Vadim, what would you advise for the founder to go out and say, I want to start a PR campaign? How do they get started?
Yeah, so there's a few things that I would do right off the bat. First of all, there's a good resource for y'all. Austin Allred, he started a company called Lambda School. It's called Bloom Tech now. He's written a lot of articles about going viral through PR. Exactly. He has engineered it down to science. The very first thing you need to consider is why would somebody want to write about you? Why would they want to cover you at all, right? So if you're going to be reaching out to journalists and you're going to try to build relationships, you're going to try to give them an excuse to write something, make sure it's something that they think will drive an audience for them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
What's it for them? They want audience, they want clicks. So that's number one. And number two, you need to have a targeted approach. Not everyone's going to care about what you're writing. Target publications that are likely to resonate with the space that you're working in. Number three, you could pay a couple $100 and just anybody can put out a press release. The difficulty then is how do you make sure it gets covered by other publications or there's actually traffic driven to it as well. So you could do a little bit of paid marketing around that too. But if you're going to start anywhere, I would think about target publication and what kind of journalists you want to build relationships with and what value you're adding for them.
Yes, I tell founders all the time, listen, cozy up to the people in your industry. And when you release a new feature or an inflection point, tell them, hey, I think I've got a great story for your readers that'll drive traffic. I'm working with a very major publication right now. I can't really say, I'm under some NDAs. But let's just say they're kind of like the counter to some of stuff by a guy whose name rhymes with Jeff Bezos. Okay. So they're trying to figure that out. And all I did was I say, hey, I think your readers are going to love this story and they wanted to work with me. So figure out what gets them their eyeballs and make it happen from there. All right. So thank you for that, Vadim. So next is search engine marketing. Now, I just really want to highlight that this is different than search engine optimization. Literally, this is paying for traffic through search engine ads like Google Ads. Like you just go, because that's their revenue model. And the targeting is amazing. You can literally just go by geographic location, by zip codes, and what keywords they're going to be searching. The only thing is it's competitive because everybody else can pay for those ads, and that's the model that they do. And so you can say, like, let's say you're a new SaaS company and you want to get a CRM. You literally can say, I want to do CRM. Anybody who types in best CRM software in Google in whatever, the Detroit, Michigan area, because that's where we can do our demos and send out the salespeople. It's that targeted. Vadim, did you ever pay for ads in search engines like Google? What'd you do?
Yeah, I've done plenty of. Look, Google's going to be a primary source here. You can try Bing and other search engines. Maybe they're less competitive, might be a little bit cheaper, but Google is king. Remember that some of these channels, like Google search used to be cheaper. Now they're a little more expensive. But the way that you optimize for not spending a ton of money on paid search on Google is to niche down in a particular area where there's not a ton of competition, maybe less search volume, but lets you stand out. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to do it geographically. Google is really good with hyper targeted geography advertising, right? So you can serve ads for people that live in a particular location. If your business is geospecific, you could actually win still on Google and do it in a relatively inexpensive way.
The key is test, everyone. Do not just jump in like $3,000 into your budget. Test, A/B test, and places like Google have got really great tools for you to do that and conduct that testing. So look at your metrics like crazy, and I could show the dashboard that I do for like the paid ads, and you just see the conversion rates and you test all the different stuff. So now here's something. Let's go back to Vadim. I don't know if you've seen it. Let's go back to PR for a second and rip off the cover on this. Is that a lot of the press that you see out there, people pay for it, right? You can go pay for it. You can pay to get your articles included in Entrepreneur Magazine. And this happens all the time. We got this comment. I received an email today about inclusion in Who's Who in America. Would this be a good example of PR? The thing is, I get this all the time. You've been identified as a business leader in this space and top thing, and we want to feature you in our magazine, all this stuff. And then you click on that, and all you need to do is pay $3,000 for your full page spread, and all this thing. That's their business model. Is that PR? Technically, it is. You're doing public relations, but technically not, because you're not earning that PR. And Vadim, I'm sure you've seen this. What's the difference for you in your mind, and what do you recommend?
I mean, look, even if you, just to set expectations here for folks, even if you get covered organically by some publication, it's going to be good credibility for you. It might help you get covered by other publications. One article is usually not going to make your business, right? So you need to continuously engineer this. But yeah, I mean, I think the two lines are getting really blurred. You know, many of these publications, smaller publications, rely on the big players, Google, Facebook, etc., to actually drive traffic to them, and many of them will pay for that traffic. So, you know, obviously earned media, organic media is going to be better because it's free, but you know, which one's going to have better results? You could potentially have good results by paying to drive traffic to, let's say, a particular publication or an article of your own, right, for credibility purposes, especially if you can target it more, but nothing's guaranteed.
Just remember, everyone, all the platforms need to make money. So they've all got a monetization thing going on somewhere. And, you know, the prestigious places will pick you up organically. That makes credibility. If your audience goes, oh, you paid for it, that's just not right, then you're going to run into issues, right? So remember, SEM, you can pay for traffic, experiment, just as Vadim said, but that appends itself next to social and display ads. So it's different than paying for you to appear in a search engine like Google. This is talking about showing up on Facebook. So this is running targeted advertisement on social media platforms and display networks. That's their model, right? Again, same thing. You can leverage demographic, the interest, behavioral targeting, audience is where they hang out. So if you know everybody's looking on LinkedIn, this is an example. You run a display ad on LinkedIn, and let's say you're a direct-to-consumer brand, all right? And so you get on Instagram. Here's what's really cool is you can retarget people. So you can use Facebook's tools. So someone comes to your website, you tag them, and then it's like if they're on Instagram, serve them up this really cool ad that interrupts, right? When you're scrolling through your feed, the ad comes up and they go, oh, I was just at that website. You guys ever wonder, you're searching for something and you search in like Google or you're talking about it, next thing you know, all your ads on Instagram or LinkedIn actually go about that. Like I'll scroll for phone cases on Amazon, and guess what? When I go to Instagram, I see ads for phone cases, right? That's what's happening. It's retargeting. So Vadim, did you ever run any social and display ads?
Oh yeah, all the time, especially on Facebook or Instagram, right? You got to pick the channel where you think your audience lives. If you are going to do paid advertising, stick with one channel to start. To Ed's point, you have to do a lot of experimentation. You have to test the ad copy. You have to test the assets themselves, images or videos or whatever it is. You have to test the conversion. You have to turn off non-performing ads because they can go through a lot of money as well. So pick one channel and make sure you have enough budget to actually run some experiments and tests. Understand it'll probably take you thousands of dollars to create any kind of real optimization through paid social these days because it's so competitive.
And remember, everyone, every social network, the users are different. I was talking about this the other day with our team. I said, people scroll through Instagram for different things than on Reddit. And so an ad that works on Instagram is not going to work on Reddit. Reddit is more conversational. They want commentary. They want it to look like someone like them is putting out some, interesting information. LinkedIn is going to be different. YouTube is going to be different than TikTok. So the best part is that you can kind of gain an understanding of the behavior of each demographic on every platform. So study them, and nothing stops you from experimenting, saying, I'm going to throw $100 at LinkedIn and then throw another $100 at this other network or where professionals hang out on Facebook because maybe they have a personal group over there, because LinkedIn people tend to go there for professional connections, Facebook personal connections, but business people use both. So nothing stops you from trying each one. So understand, study the channel. All right, moving along. We're at a good pace here. Offline ads, leveraging traditional advertising methods such as TV, radio, print, and direct mail. Those still exist. And the best part is, Vadim, some people just like, I'm inundated on digital. So when they see a print ad or they hear a radio ad, it's going to be different depending on your demographic, etc. Now, typically these are more expensive because you have like brand awareness, you stand out, it's a print ad, you're in a different channel. It might work for you. And, one of the things I remember, Casper, the mattress company, they did a lot of online stuff. I remember seeing them, I believe, on YouTube, but they actually used subway ads, like ads inside subway stations because, hey, it was a different, I don't know, maybe people were tired and thinking about sleep and all this stuff. And then that's where they were. So that helps. I have another story about this. I was talking with a founder and she was doing all the social media stuff, content, driving it, email marketing, and she couldn't get people to her MVP. And so what she did was she went and printed off flyers and stood on the corner of her campus and actually physically handed out flyers. And it interrupted people at the right time, and then her MVP got full, as she was launching it. So you never know what's going to be a little different of a channel to get people's attention. What are your thoughts, man?
I tell this to folks all the time. If you don't understand a particular channel or you have zero experience in it, think about how much time you want to invest in learning it and trying to optimize it. Most folks have some experience with something. So for example, if you've ever hosted an event and event marketing could work for you, that's going to have a higher likelihood of success than something that you have never tried before. And sort of that contrarian perspective of, well, can I do something that's offline versus online? Can I do something where there's less advertising dollars flowing in here now because there's less eyeballs, but at least it's not going to be super competitive, right? The answer probably is yes, or at the very least, you should explore giving it a try. But your litmus test should be, where do you think, given your background, experience, and aptitude and skills, you have a higher likelihood of success in sticking through the experimentation necessary to figure out that channel?
That's general advice for all those channels. So let's continue to move along. Search engine optimization. So this is literally optimizing your content and website structure to rank higher in organic search results. We're going to talk about this. It's worth exploring just a little bit. Traditionally, this is like you do keyword research, you do technical optimization, domain authority, content marketing, track long-term traffic, backlinks, etc. HubSpot did this really amazing by producing extensive blogs on contents. I've used this before to show up. There are search engine optimization for different platforms. Like when you go to YouTube, which is the second most searched database in the world, like it's the most second used search place other than Google, and they're the same company. I win for pitch decks on YouTube. You can actually see it on my search. When someone types in pre-seed pitch decks, my stuff comes up and I get a lot of traffic. So this isn't just on Google, but right now what's happening, everybody, and Vadia, I don't know if you got opinions on this, but AI is now taking over. So on Google now, AI is kind of like cannibalizing Google's model, and it's delivering you the answers. I don't know if you've seen it before, but I'm getting an AI summary right at the top before I go into other things. And so a lot of people are kind of mad because my stuff is being scanned to answer AI, and people might not even come to my thing when it comes to search engine optimization. But what I would say to that is there are many other ways for search engine optimization, because people will literally search on different platforms other than Google right now. But AI is making a difference Vadim, what are your thoughts? What are you seeing out there?
I think AI is absolutely making a difference. That said, I did see literally somebody post recently, someone with a lot of experience in SEO, how much search volume Google still gets and how it's still growing, right? So I wouldn't write off SEO like, traditional SEO altogether. If you're thinking about SEO, keep these two things in mind. Number one, it'll take at least 6 months for you to see any results from it. That's just how it is. You can rank for your own name relatively quickly. If you want to start ranking for certain keywords, you're gonna have to put out a lot of content and the like. The other piece is there's really two things to consider with SEO: on-page SEO. So is your website sort of Google friendly? Can it crawl your website? And that's number one. Number two, off-page SEO. Do you have a reputation? Do other credible websites link to your website? That's kind of the standard, backlinking. You could do a little research about that. But also, do you have relevant content? That's going to be the most important thing as well. A relevant, consistent content. If you're really early stage, SEO might not be the best fit if you're still figuring out who your ICP is, what keywords to use and all that, but it could still definitely drive a lot of dividends for your business long term.
It takes time to start for sure. I talked to a founder yesterday, Vadim. They, at their height, were doing $3.5 million. What happened? This perfect storm came together. They did something controversial. They got picked up by press. All these websites wrote about him, and then they backlinked to his website. So not only did he get press, but then he got all the backlinks for those keywords, and he was SEO optimized like crazy. And so organic, he crushed it, but it's not exactly organic in the sense that people aren't just discovering you. It was engineered with a lot of things coming together. So that's what you're talking about, which leads to the next thing, Vadim. I'm going to let you know, this is my favorite marketing, content marketing. This is when you create valuable content. I'm going to underline that word, valuable content, everyone. Blogs, videos, infographics to attract and engage your audience. It's all about trust, educating. So you want people to know you, like you, and trust you. And that's what they get by engaging with your content. It improves search engine rankings, like we talked about. And a lot of people, lots of great blogs, and then they got YouTube channels. That's what I do, my YouTube channel, quality through there. Vadim, you did a podcast, right? And you put out content, you write. Are you as bullish or excited or totally hyped on content marketing as much as I am?
Absolutely. I mean, content marketing is probably one of the best forms of marketing you can do, simply because if it's high quality and you can be consistent with it, you will drive growth of an audience and you will own that audience first and foremost. And that's the biggest asset you can create. So if you're ready to invest in creating content long term, then it will pay dividends, and it's not like something you can lose that quickly. Now, there's still platform risk. Platform might go away, right? You lose that audience. So that's something to consider. But I think content is super, super important. And especially now with AI content, people that are going to be just relying purely on AI, it's going to all start to look the same, and people are going to tune that content out. So if you can create unique content, you'll stand out and build dividends for the future. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, your content stands out. I'm glad you brought up AI. And everybody, listen, if you can stand out and do stuff like, let's say on YouTube, you've got these faceless videos where AI voices are just saying it with AI generated images. So then now your live face makes the difference that they're building that parasocial relationship with you. And I tell founders all the time, once you put out that piece of content, if you put it in the right spot, it's always working for you, which is really great. And so what happens is I tell founders, I said, if you could drive across town and present to 50 people in a room and give an elevator pitch for your business and share and educate them, give them something of value so they want to contact you, would you? People say yes. And I go, great. That's precisely what you're doing. Stop complaining that your video on YouTube only gets 50 views, because that's what you've done. And it's even better when you're not well known. People are actually looking for your stuff, and they clicked on it for a reason, and you get to pitch them. Now, is it any good? Wow. That's going to be another issue. But we're talking about a library, and that's what you do is you create that library online. Here's the question, Vadim. Do you have the must-have or checklist for creating content marketing like blogs? Okay, so Vadim, let's go through this. There's no master checklist, everyone. I'm sorry. There's no master checklist. But let's use this example, Vadim. Say you want to create a blog and you want to attract people and you want to use content marketing for a blog. How would you start? What are the things that they need to know? It's worth spending time on this.
Sure. I mean, if I was going to write a blog, first of all, I'd decide, do I really need to host it, or can I just put it up on a Substack or Medium or something like that? Most people over-engineer this stuff. You can write for one of those publications and they have all the tools already. Second of all, I probably would think about SEO and driving value that way, right? Making sure you're optimizing for your own keywords, for your own blog. But the most important thing is, how are you going to get eyeballs on your blog? If you're just hoping that you're going to write a bunch of content and the people will come, it'll not happen. And you'll get very, very frustrated with the experience. So are you going to share it on your socials? Are you going to ask a bunch of people that are your friends or people in the industry to share that blog post? Are you going to ask other bloggers that have significant traffic to point to your blog, or you can ask a couple of newsletters to promote it, right? So a blog in and of itself isn't going to do much for you unless you figure out how to actually drive traffic to it. That's number one. Here's the second thing I'll say about content marketing in general, but also writing a blog. If you're a bad writer, but you're awesome on video,
Yeah, exactly.
maybe do video content as opposed to writing. No one's forcing you to go with a particular medium for this stuff.
Yep, make sure you fit the medium. Now, here's something I want to talk about for everybody out there. There's a difference between stuff that you need to pull people to your stuff, like Vadim talked about. So if you have a blog on your website, you need to pull people in with SEO, share it with your friends, get it on your socials. But then there are places, Vadim mentioned, like Substack and other places that have got algorithms that push you out and recommend you. And if you get on a platform like that, that's the benefit, is even though you don't own that platform and you're with all these other people, those platforms will say to someone that maybe fits your blog content and say, hey, you read this blog about cybersecurity experts. Maybe you want to read this blog about viruses and AI fighting, and phishing schemes and hacking, right? And that might be you. So that's the benefit of it. So you really do have to go understand, as Vadim said, not only what function or what format fits, like maybe you have a face for radio, okay, and you can accept that, but what fits, but how those platforms work and how people are going to discover you, if at all, and how much you have to augment on that. You got anything else to add to that, Vadim?
Yeah, I mean, look, you mentioned, Ed, that I ran a podcast. We did 250 episodes. Okay, that took a while. This is before AI editing tools and all that stuff, and we edited a lot of our own shows and also used an editor. There's a reason why I went with audio as a format. I didn't want to deal with editing video. I didn't want to deal with dressing up for the video presentation or whatever it is. Someone once told me I have a good podcasting voice, so that maybe it was a little bit of I don't know, a hubris or whatever it is. But I knew that I could stay consistent with that medium.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing, is consistency, because this stuff takes time to show results. You could get lucky and you'll have an article go viral right away. It does happen. But if that's your expectation, again, you're going to have a bad time. Consistency is key. Can you put out a lot of this stuff?
Vadim, you sparked another thing. I hate to keep belaboring this, but I love content marketing so much. Can't recommend it enough. That instead of saying, what is it going to take for me to create a podcast episode? The question you should be asking is, what system do you need? Adding to what Vadim said, what system do you need in your startup to create a consistent podcast episode? So think of it in terms of systems. Do you have the bandwidth? I was talking to a startup today, Vadim, and they were saying, we don't do very much branding, internal marketing, and people are hungry for this stuff. And I said, hey, you know what we need to do is, how about I schedule interviews just like this one, and then we can retrofit them into podcast episodes, and we can cut them up and, do all those things. And they were like, oh, that would be great. So I was suggesting the system in how we create content for them, because they just, couldn't get it all figured out internally. So the systems are important. Let's not belabor this one even more. But Vadim, this one I have the least amount of experience in, and it's email marketing. I'm just not to your point, Vadim, I'm not good at writing emails. So I just stay away. Great at video, bad at emails. Bad at that type of stuff. But the email marketing is nurturing leads and engaging customers through personalized and automated email campaigns. What I like about emails is you own that list, right? Instead of people being subscribers, you own that list. So if the channel or the platform goes belly up, you can salvage that. But I can't deny a well-crafted email can get you conversions, increase customer retention, like keep you connected, brand loyalty, announcements, even like personalized recommendations. Like, hey, we found something, really great for you, or did you know? And here's your digest. Like, email marketing is really great. Things that are timely. Say I was looking at something and suddenly I got an email saying, hey, there's a coupon now for this. Based on that, it works. Vadim, what's your experience with email marketing?
I think I have pretty good experience with email marketing. For the podcast, we had a tiny newsletter of about 1,000 people, but they were super engaged. They shared our episodes and the like. So even a small audience can be really helpful. For my education venture, we probably had about 25, 30,000 emails over time. Here's what I would consider most with email marketing. First of all, keep in mind the user experience. Like, when you grab their email, you are competing with everything else in their inbox. So the content has to be good, it has to be interesting, it has to be educational, whatever it is. Understand that it's going to take 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 15 emails, right? So over time, spaced out over time, to actually get them to engage, to stand out. But it is still a fantastic medium. Everyone's still going to check their inbox.
I do.
It's a great way to build trust with your audience. So I would 100% do it as one of the activities that you're working on.
Yeah, especially if the emails are good. I'll look forward to some emails. Like, I can digest about like all the crazy YouTube videos that went viral and, breakdown of their content in terms of titles and all that stuff. I look look forward to that email. I actually read it, right? Now, a lot of other emails I don't. So if you can do it right, it's great. Brings us to the next thing. Let's move in another direction. Engineering as marketing. I personally love this one because this works so well for me. Building free tools and calculators like widgets, all that stuff that attract potential customers, right? So you actually engineer it and you bake it in. And so something that gives value by subtly promoting the product, right? Like just, try this free calculator, but it's like, oh, I'm building trust with the product. And HubSpot did this. They had this free website grader that allows you to analyze your websites, introducing them to marketing software. Like people do this all the time. Try the free analysis of your website for, keywords, checks your backlinks, all that stuff. I had something where I allowed people to onboard themselves for free. It was a B2B, and I got product market fit by allowing people, employees, they didn't have to pay for it. It was free. They could take the assessment and onboard themselves and then share it with their fellow employees. And then once I got it through the department, the manager would call me and say, hey, everybody's taking this. What do we do now? And then, we could actually sell this. I ended up selling the startup. The story is that I had someone contact me. She wanted to come work for us. She worked at Target. And she said, yeah, we use your stuff at Target. And I was like, I have never spoken to anybody at Target. But built-in features, engineering as marketing, can create virality as well. It's like, you got to try this widget. And it works really well. Vadim, any experience with this? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm jealous of people that can figure out engineering as marketing. I have never really figured it out, but I have advised entrepreneurs that have. If you have technical skills, spend some time on that. That's going to be your superpower in being able to create that sort of, again, it has to do with virality as well, but that stickiness within your product and sort of thinking about how you're moving the user to convert to something that's paid. If you want to reverse engineer it, start looking at some of the AI tools out there that are usage-based pricing. Their whole job is to hook you and to get you to upgrade and to spend more money with them. If you're not technical yet, you can do stuff like lead magnets. You can put stuff on the website. I don't even know if I would necessarily consider that engineering as a marketing. I think that term comes from the fact that if you're able to actually build in these hooks, and build some product behind it to handle that as you're trying to upsell someone, usually that requires some technical talent, then you should use that to your advantage and try to implement that.
Targeting blogs. We're getting back to blogs, Vadim. Partnering with niche blogs to reach relevant audiences. I think the term niche blog is really important. Through guest posts and reviews. Vadim, I am very fortunate. I have a standing invitation for someone who's got like 300,000 subscribers on a Substack. And they said, Ed, anytime you want to contribute content, you do this, you contribute content. Really, websites and articles are just glorified blogs. But it's so effective to tap into the existing engaged community, and you help their audience and you get, links to you. So for example, let's say you're a fitness brand and you go to a blog and it's like fitness for nerds. I don't know, like Big Bang Theory fitness. I don't know, something like that. You're like, I could write a specific article for you about this as long as I can incorporate where I'm coming from. Here's another technique that I've seen happen is, all these lists, and you go and you say the best CRM software, for example, say you're a CRM company, and you say, hey, I see your list is kind of 2 years old. I rewrote the list for you. And just so happens you're included in that list. And nothing stops them from republishing it and saying, here's the update, because you've done the work for them and you're contributing content, because bloggers always want content. And so that's what happens. So, Vadim, I know you got experience with this.
Yeah. Well, you just said that, Ed, you did the work for them. I think, oftentimes when we want to reach someone with the traffic that we think is going to be valuable for us, all we can think about is, okay, how they can benefit us. But if you can figure out a way to add that value, maybe even another way, indirect way or whatever it is, and then ask for a guest blog post, if you can write the content ahead of time, if you have been published in other areas and you're showing to them that there's already other credible publications or credible blogs that have let you write content for them, you're increasing your chances of success. So again, with this, as with anything else, you want to be targeted. You want to make sure that you're only operating within your deep area of expertise, because anybody can write crappy content, but if you can actually contribute value by offering some kind of expertise, offering some kind of expertise that they don't have access to, writing an article that's likely to drive traffic, whatever that value is, you will probably benefit from that. If you think, hey, I'm going to email a bunch of bloggers and they're going to write, they're going to link to my blog or link to my website if I just write a couple paragraphs for them, again, you're not really leading with a value. So think about because these are humans behind these blogs, right? What value offering to that human that's going to incentivize them to want to add value back to you?
Business development, affectionately referred to as BD. This is forming strategic partnerships with other businesses for distribution and exposure. So it's not just developing a line of business, developing those channels of distribution with other businesses. Examples like this, Vadim, are like co-marketing. Let's build a product together. Let's be exclusive. I'll be a value-added reseller for you if you give me, a price cut and I can make some margin. You know who did this? Spotify. Okay, they partner right now recently with Hulu, right? You're seeing all this happen. So Spotify does audio. They partner with Hulu. Let's do a bundled subscription. We're starting to see that more and more happen. Hulu bundled with Disney Plus here. So that's one thing. But even at value-added reseller, I've got things where I've got relationships with channels that have my customers and clients, and I say, you can use my software for free if you give me a cut on this or you bring me in on this deal, or I'll give you my software for 50% off and you can mark it up and charge the regular price. That's what we're talking about with BD. Did you do any BD for your recent education venture?
Yes, we tried some like customized BD deals. We did a lot of influencer marketing, which I see as BD as well. We could talk about that at some point. But what you should consider is that almost no BD partnership is likely to work right away. Like it takes time to figure out the messaging, the positioning, the structure of the deal where both parties benefit. I see a lot of early stage founders wasting a lot of time trying to pursue the development deals and partnerships.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it can be valuable if it's not your first channel, like if you have something else that's already driving results, and understand that for every, I don't know, 4 or 5 partnerships, maybe one will succeed.
Yeah, the sales cycles can be really long. We were waiting so long. Like, for example, if you got an app, and I was talking to a founder here at Startups.com the other day, and they were like, we want our app to be featured on the websites for corporate wellness to recommend to their employees. And I said, great. It takes forever to get that approved and to go through all the channels. So it's something that you can continue developing if you've got good relationships and you happen to be really strong with this. Yeah, it gets better, but this is tough. Usually it takes a long time. And usually the other companies like the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and they like put all these demands on you, like, we'll do it if you do this for us, build this feature. So be careful, but sometimes it's a slam dunk, especially if they need you more than you need them. That's another way to change that around. But it dovetails your favorite subject, founder-led sales. All right, Vadim. Sales using direct outreach demos, closing techniques, convert leads into paying customers, right? High-ticket items, this works great. Like going and doing sales and you're selling something for $100, not going to do it. But if it's $1,000, it's worth it. I usually say anything above $300 involving a salesperson is okay. B2B works extremely well. Like you look at Salesforce, right? I don't know how many times you've had to sit through Salesforce sales presentation, but oh my gosh, have I had to sit through, so many of those demos, consultations, things like that. Vadim, you're a founder-led salesperson. What is your whole line on founder-led sales?
Well, first of all, I totally agree with you. The unit economics have to make sense. So can you have a direct sales motion, right? Can you have some kind of predictable sales cycle and the like? But for a lot of founders, if you're selling to other businesses, you have to get comfortable with sales. That's why founder-led sales is something we advocate for. But even if you don't think you're good at sales, you have to do it. By the way, if you're a CTO working for an early stage business, you're going to have to get comfortable with being a sales engineer in the room and doing the technical pitches and all that stuff. But here's what I'll say. It is similar to what I said before with some of these other channels. Today, to stand out with most customer acquisition channels, you have to have a unique and targeted approach. Now, it's very difficult to come up with, so you have to spend time. But if you're going to be doing cold email outreach to set up meetings, it still works. Those emails better be good. If they're not good, or if they're using outdated cold email strategies, outdated languages, right? And how do you know if it's outdated? Take a look at your LinkedIn inbox. You'll probably find 5, 10 messages that sound exactly the same. So if you're going to say the same thing, it's not going to work. Don't expect different results. Cold calling can still work. Actually, I think it can even work better now if you're willing to do it, because most people are simply not doing it. So as long as you can reach somebody on the phone, it might take more dials these days, but a lot of people aren't doing it and a lot of people aren't good at it. So practice your opener, practice how you're going to secure the meetings and all that good stuff. But broadly speaking, you're going, if it's a B2B business or B2 SMB, B2 enterprise, whatever it is, you have to at least get somewhat good at sales. Understand you'll probably outsource it at some point, but those first 5, 10, 15, 20 clients, they're going to have to come through you and you alone.
Here's how I launched my marketing agency, Vadim. I think you'll appreciate this. And this is how creative everybody has to get. So I would go and get the glossy magazine in my city, and I knew an ad in there cost like $3,000. So I would cut out the ad and I would call, and later I got staff, but I would call them and I'd say, excuse me, I saw your ad in this magazine. I was just wondering who makes the decision on advertising? To the reception. And they would say, so-and-so. And I'd say, thank you very much. And I'd hang up. Then I would take the ad and I would mark it up with red marker on all the stuff they did wrong with their ad. And then I would take a dollar lottery ticket and I would staple it to the ad, and then I would put it in an envelope and I would mail it to the company because I knew they had money. And I also knew they were probably experiencing pain of peeing money down the toilet and advertising that didn't work. And then because I was gonna talk about all new ways of, this was in the early days, internet, social, things like that. So I was pushing that. Then I would call them 2 weeks later and I would say, excuse me, can I talk to so-and-so? And they're like, yeah, because, it's like, I know the name. They patch me in, and I would say, hey, I sent you my critique on your ad, my rating. I gave him a rating scale. And then I'd have a message say, you probably get a better ROI with this dollar lottery ticket than what you did with your ad. And man, did they, so many people rip me a new one. They rip me a new one. They say, who the hell do you think you are? I got a marketing degree, you know, all this, I've been doing this for like 20 years. And I would say, great, what's the ROI? How's it working for you? And they couldn't tell me because so many of these didn't have a call to action, didn't have anything to do with it, not a website with a special link, anything. So that's what I was doing. And then bang, I would hit one and they would say, thank you so much. This is what we've been looking forward to. We need you. Please come on in. And that's how creative you have to get, everyone. Vadim, what do you think about what I did?
Oh, I love that. I wish I knew you back then when you during your Ed Hustler days.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great example of doing something to stand out. You know, yeah, you might upset a couple people, but in the end of the day, it will resonate with somebody else. So you don't have to do super wacky stuff to get the attention of folks, but that's a great example of something that takes creativity. It takes more than a couple seconds to think about how you're going to execute that. And it's something that I bet nobody else was doing, especially at the time. So it's a fantastic idea.
I stood out for sure. I had to be obnoxious. Thick skin, everyone. Thick skin if you want to do sales, right? Okay, let's talk and let's go through some of these things. Thank you, pretty audacious. Yeah, I know. You have to be obnoxious. Listen, everyone, I want to pause this. I know a founder, and he runs a social media marketing platform. And I asked him, and like, it's a marketing platform for social media experts. It does $20 million a year. And I asked him, I said, you have all the data. What works on social media these days? If you had to give one piece of advice. And he said, Ed, you have to be controversial. Like, not to the point where you get canceled, but you have to say something controversial. And that's the reason, being audacious, you got to stand out. Vadim's been hammering that. Let's go through some of these, and I'm going to whip through the rest so you know everyone's got a good idea. Affiliate marketing, so encouraging third parties to promote your product in exchange for commissions. Performance-based acquisition channel is really what we're saying. I do affiliate marketing for some founders here at Startups.com, and they give me a code, and I include the code, and bang, when it goes out there, like, I get $3.20 every time someone uses the code, and I'm more than happy to push it. So that's affiliate marketing. You got to test it and come up with the right incentive. It works. And you can do this with existing platforms. So you go and you leverage established platforms like the App Store, Amazon, YouTube to reach users. So Amazon did this. They do commission. So you can create a commercial link and you can get all that stuff done. So find out where your customers are downloading. So maybe you want to do an ad and get featured on the App Store, right? The next thing is trade shows. This is offline marketing, everyone, where, if you can get in front, trade shows are expensive, but let me give you the tip. I contact everybody before I go to trade show. Usually they give you a list. I say, are you going to be at the trade show? Let's link up for a meeting. And then I get a reason at the trade show for everybody to give me their email address. Maybe I'll do a prize, a draw, a free demo, things like that. Then I contact them and I say, hey, you didn't win the prize, but you won a free demo, or you won like a month's worth of this and that. Or I follow up and I hit them with LinkedIn immediately at the trade show. I say, hey, let's grab a coffee while we're here. Or, when can I follow up? So I'm constantly working that network. And so, like, people do this. Like, there's trade shows for everything these days. Vadim, did you do any trade shows?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would do something similar. You have to set up meetings ahead of time. And if you're going to be tabling, actually invest in preparing for what you're going to do when you're tabling, how you're going to grab those leads, how you're going to convert them, and all that stuff. But trade shows are fantastic. More and more people, I think, are looking for excuses to meet in person now. So if you think that your leads are going to be there and you think that you've already figured out you can sell something, that could be a good investment of your time and money for sure.
And that leads to offline events in general, hosting meetups, conferences, workshops, engage potential customers in person. What Vadim said is right. Some people just want to do business in person. We're still human to human, business. Even if you're a virtual business, let's say you're online, like Shopify does in-person events for e-commerce entrepreneurs, right? YouTube flies people in. I remember working with a company called VIP Kid. They held meetups for teachers, like all over the place. And here's a real cool thing to test. If I think something's going to be worth it, what I do is I put on a meetup because there's an algorithm for discovery and it pushes out there. And so I'll say, I'm having this meeting about this product or this topic. And then people sign up, for that stuff. Vadim, how many offline events did you do?
Hundreds, if not more. I used to, when I ran a podcast, we ended up starting a New York City podcast community. And actually, we took over an existing meetup. And that happens sometimes where hosts doesn't want to host anymore. They give it up or whatever it is. So you have a built-in audience. We would have 80 to 100 people come every single time, got a ton of opportunities through it. So if you're good at events and you feel like you can be a good MC, it's going to be a good strategy for you.
Okay. which leads us to this next thing. It's dovetail, speaking engagements. So if you can be a good MC, a good speaker, establishing authority and reaching audience by speaking at relevant events, like, again, there's this whole speaking circuit. There are conferences that need speakers, to bring people in. I've been contacted saying, hey, can you submit something? We think you'd be a good speaker at this event because you're a draw. You think about like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Like he's all over the place as far as marketing concerned, talking, all those things. And so maybe you can host a speaking event and bring in these speakers, which is a draw, or you can be the speaker itself. But then what Vadim said, this is the last one that I think is going to be the future, and that's community building. You're all here because you're part of community, creating a nurturing and engaged audience around your brand through forums, groups, or social communities. I tell you, Vadim, I never underestimate the power of community anymore, because people are like, yeah, it's great, you can sell to me and all this stuff, but I get to hang with the brand, hang with other people who are brand ambassadors, loyalty, word of mouth, join this community. Peloton did that. Like there's so many companies that did this, right? Where it leads to that virality, engagement, retention. The last word is to you. Community. What do you think?
I think Startups.com is uniquely good at the community aspect. It is hard to execute. You have to think about constantly how you're going to engage the community through the various channels and whatever it may be. You have to make sure that the quality of community stays high. It is just like content. It's one of those things that'll continue to give dividends. It takes a lot of work, like anything that's good, but it is something where you can essentially get to a point where the customers just keep on coming to you. So if you're ready to invest in that and you think you can be good as a community manager, it'll be a great channel for you.
That's why Discord is so popular as a tool. You can go find all these communities you can talk. But let me give everybody a pro tip. If you're thinking about using community, here's a hack. If you can figure out pricing for your community and you can charge for it if you give 10x value. So, for example, in this community, Startups.com, here's a little plug. You pay your $200 membership for advisory. You'll be paying like $10,000 to talk to me on a regular basis, right? Not to say you get all that same exposure, but if you can show the value, like someone like Vadim, I'm pretty sure that if I talk to Vadim and I see him on a weekly basis, that's at least $2,000 value in terms of what he's giving me. So community, think about it. Okay. Everybody, those were your 19 different tactics, Vadim. Always a pleasure. Thanks for being so expedient and blasting. We covered a lot of content today. Everyone checks out at Startups.com. Do the YouTube thing, like, comment, subscribe. We're going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're going to continue this series on revenue acceleration, traction hacking. Check us out. Thanks for hanging out. Vadim, always a pleasure again. See you next time.
Thanks so much.